Why does this dog look like it should be in a horror film? Our first entry comes from r/oddly terrifying. Someone posted a photo of their dog, and honestly, the lighting, the angle, something about this innocent pup just screams supernatural thriller. The comments are filled with people saying it looks like the beast from a Stephen King novel, with some users claiming they immediately thought of demonic hounds or cursed animals. It's fascinating how context can make even the most innocent things appear sinister, and this post perfectly demonstrates how our brains are wired to find threats even in the most harmless situations. This TikTok filter has Danny in it, I'm convinced. Moving over to the Danny Gonzalez subreddit, someone discovered a TikTok filter that bears an uncanny resemblance to the YouTuber. Now, this might seem harmless, but there's something deeply unsettling about seeing your face randomly appear in AI-generated content. The user was convinced that Danny's likeness had somehow been incorporated into this filter without his knowledge or consent, which opens up a whole can of worms about digital privacy and identity theft. It raises questions about digital identity that honestly keep me up at night, especially in an age where deepfakes and AI-generated faces are becoming increasingly sophisticated. Woke up scared stiff last night. Here's a classic case of mistaken identity gone wrong. Someone thought they saw a Victorian ghost at the edge of their bed, only to realize it was clothes hanging on a door. The poster described lying frozen in terror for what felt like hours, convinced they were sharing their bedroom with a spectral visitor from another era. We've all been there. That moment when shadows and fabric conspire to create the perfect illusion of something supernatural. But few of us have experienced it quite this vividly or documented it so effectively for others to relate to. This pair of hip waders and these rubber gloves washing. Sometimes the most mundane objects become terrifying in the right context. Wet rubber gloves hanging to dry, or hip waders positioned just so, they take on an almost human quality that tricks our pattern-seeking brains into seeing something that isn't there. The hip waders in particular look disturbingly like a person standing in water, while the rubber gloves appear to be reaching out with ghostly fingers. These posts are perfect examples of pareidolia, our tendency to see faces and human forms in inanimate objects, especially when we're already primed to expect something unsettling. Came home late and found this sitting on the edge of my bed. This post from r/creepy shows what appears to be a figure sitting motionless on someone's bed. The poster explains they were too scared to move and stood in their doorway for several minutes before realizing what they were looking at. Looking at the image, you can understand why. The silhouette is perfectly positioned to look like an intruder who's been waiting in the darkness. Even if it's just a pile of clothes or a trick of light and shadow, the human brain immediately interprets it as a presence, and the poster's genuine fear comes through in their description of the experience. My friend cooked red rice, but she put too much water. This one's from oddly terrifying, and honestly, sometimes food can be the most disturbing thing of all. The texture, the color, it looks like something that definitely shouldn't be consumed. The way the excess water is mixed with the rice creates this viscous, blood-like consistency that's deeply unsettling to look at. Food horror is real, folks, and there's something primal about our disgust response to food that looks wrong or contaminated, even when we know it's technically safe to eat. Mum was going through old photos of me. Family photos are supposed to be comforting, right? Wrong. Sometimes old photographs capture things that weren't supposed to be there, or reveal details that only become apparent years later. This post had people analyzing every pixel, trying to determine what exactly made this childhood photo so disturbing, with some users claiming to see faces in the background, or shadows that didn't belong. The unsettling nature of old family photos lies in how they freeze moments in time, sometimes preserving things we'd rather forget, or details that take on sinister meanings with the passage of time. Bike with slashed tires, you are so easy to find, Mark. This one takes a dark turn. Posted in r/bicycling, it appears to show a bicycle with intentionally damaged tires and an ominous message. The implications are deeply troubling. Is this a threat, a warning, some kind of twisted revenge? The casual mention of someone's name makes it even more chilling. suggesting this isn't random vandalism, but something targeted and personal. The fact that someone took the time to photograph this and share it online adds another layer of disturbing context to an already unsettling situation. Keeper of the Woods. This image supposedly shows a figure lurking in a forest, partially obscured by trees and shadows. Forest horror hits different because it taps into primal fears about the unknown and our ancestral memories of when the wilderness was genuinely dangerous. The figure appears to be watching, waiting, almost like a guardian or sentinel that doesn't want to be disturbed. Whether it's pareidolia or something genuinely unexplained, woods have always been a source of human anxiety, and this post perfectly captures why. There's something about dense forests that makes us feel like we're being observed by unseen eyes. My husband took this picture on his way to work. Sometimes the most terrifying posts are the ones with the most innocent explanations. A spouse takes a routine photo only to discover something unexpected in the frame later. Maybe a figure in a window, a shadow where none should be, or a face peering from behind a tree. These kinds of posts make you question everything you think you know about your daily surroundings and wonder what else might be hiding in plain sight during our mundane routines. The casual nature of how these discoveries happen makes them even more unsettling, as if the supernatural is casually intruding on the most ordinary moments of our lives. I was driving down a woodsy road in the mountains and I saw something out of the corner of my eye. Peripheral vision is both a blessing and a curse. It's designed to detect movement and potential threats, but sometimes it picks up things that may or may not be there. This post from r/creepy captures that moment of uncertainty. Did they really see something, or did their brain fill in the blanks? The poster describes that split-second decision between stopping to investigate or continuing to drive, ultimately choosing to keep moving, but never forgetting what they thought they glimpsed. Mountain roads add an extra layer of isolation and vulnerability that makes encounters like this particularly memorable and disturbing. The stairs I have to take to leave work. Posted in r/creepy, this shows a stairwell that just feels wrong. Sometimes architecture can be deeply unsettling without any supernatural explanation needed. Poor lighting, weird angles, or just the feeling that you're being watched can transform an ordinary space into something genuinely frightening. The poster mentions having to use these stairs daily, which adds a layer of dread to their work routine that most of us can't imagine. Office buildings can be surprisingly terrifying after hours, when familiar spaces become empty and echo with sounds you can't quite identify, and fluorescent lights cast strange shadows in corners where no shadows should be. The Smile Room. This title alone is enough to make your skin crawl. The image shows what appears to be a room filled with, well, I won't spoil it, but let's just say it lives up to its unsettling name. The poster discovered this space and was disturbed enough by its contents to document and share it online, where it quickly gained traction among users who were equally disturbed. It's a perfect example of how ordinary objects can become horrifying in the right context, and how spaces that should feel neutral or even pleasant can instead trigger our deepest sense of unease when something is just fundamentally off about them. Found a hole behind some shelves at work that leads to underground tunnels. Urban exploration meets workplace horror. This post had people debating everything from building codes to the possibility of hidden infrastructure. The unknown is always terrifying, but discovering hidden spaces in familiar places, that hits different. Don't Go Up and the Atlantic County Courthouse in Mays Landing, New Jersey. Sometimes locations themselves become the source of horror, whether it's a simple warning scrawled on a wall or a specific building that seems to attract unexplained phenomena. These posts remind us that some places just feel wrong. The courthouse post in particular had locals chiming in with their own strange experiences in and around the building, creating a thread full of corroborating stories that made the original post even more unsettling. These posts demonstrate how certain locations can develop reputations that transcend rational explanation, becoming focal points for collective unease and shared supernatural experiences. Old Chuck E. Cheese Robot Factory in Orlando. Abandoned places are creepy enough, but abandoned places that once brought joy to children? That's a whole different level of disturbing. The decay of childhood memories, the uncanny valley effect of old animatronics left to rust and malfunction. creates an atmosphere that's deeply unsettling. This post perfectly captures why abandoned entertainment venues are so universally terrifying. They represent the death of innocence and fun, spaces where laughter once echoed, now silent, except for the occasional mechanical twitch of a broken robot. The juxtaposition of colorful, child-friendly decorations slowly rotting away creates a uniquely disturbing form of horror that stays with you long after viewing. Watcher in the forest. This image allegedly shows something observing from deep in the woods, partially concealed but unmistakably present. Whether it's a person, an animal, or something else entirely, the idea of being watched by an unknown presence in an isolated location taps into our most primal fears about predators and the unknown. The figure appears almost camouflaged, as if it belongs to the forest itself, which raises disturbing questions about how long it might have been there and whether the photographer was ever truly alone. Forests have always been places where civilization ends and the wild begins, making them perfect settings for encounters with things that perhaps shouldn't be encountered. I was taking pictures of my house when this happened. There was no one else in the house. Home should be our safe space, but posts like this challenge that assumption. When familiar spaces become unfamiliar, when the unexplained intrudes on the everyday, it shakes our fundamental sense of security. The poster was doing something completely routine, documenting their own property, when they captured something that defied explanation. This kind of post is particularly disturbing because it suggests that even in our most private, controlled environments, we're not alone and we're not in control. The knowledge that something unexplained can manifest in the place where we're supposed to feel most secure is deeply unsettling on a psychological level. I think I found an unmarked grave. Some discoveries are too heavy for casual internet browsing. This post sparked serious discussions about proper authorities, respect for the deceased, and the weight of accidentally stumbling upon something with real-world implications. Unlike other entries on this iceberg, this one crosses from the realm of the unsettling into genuine concern for what might be a real situation, requiring real action. The poster seemed genuinely disturbed by their discovery and unsure how to proceed, which resonated with users who understood that some things we find aren't meant for entertainment, but demand respect and proper handling. Egyptian actress and Jennifer Lawrence. Sometimes the most disturbing thing is how little we understand about the world around us. Unexplained similarities, coincidences that seem too strange to be random. These posts make us question the nature of reality itself. The resemblance between these two individuals, separated by time and geography, is so striking that it defies easy explanation and enters the realm of the genuinely mysterious. Posts like this tap into deeper questions about identity, genetics, reincarnation, or simple cosmic coincidence, leaving us with more questions than answers and a profound sense that there are patterns in existence we can't comprehend. I pass this every single day. The horror of routine disrupted. When something changes in our familiar environment, or when we suddenly notice something that was always there but never seen, it can be profoundly unsettling. This post captures that moment when the mundane becomes extraordinary in the worst possible way. When your daily commute or regular route suddenly reveals something that makes you question everything you thought you knew about your own neighborhood. The realization that you've been walking or driving past something disturbing for weeks, months, or even years without noticing it creates a deep sense of unease about what else might be hiding in plain sight in our everyday lives. Abandoned funeral home with everything left behind. Our final entry takes us to perhaps the most somber location possible, a place where people said their final goodbyes, now left to decay. The intersection of death, abandonment, and the passage of time creates something that transcends simple scares and enters the realm of genuine existential dread. What makes this particularly haunting is the idea that everything was left behind: caskets, preparation equipment, personal effects of the deceased, all abandoned to time and the elements. This post represents not just physical decay, but the collapse of dignity, memory, and the sacred rituals we use to process death, making it perhaps the most psychologically disturbing entry on our entire iceberg.